In this video, we shall learn how to write or edit mathematics expressions using Microsoft Word. And we shall use this document to practice this skill. Let's go to this first expression here. You will agree with me that it looks okay, but when you try to edit this expression, then you realize that it was not written down using the correct method of writing down such expressions. Let's go to the second one. Over here, you can see there is a fraction here, which should be 2x minus 2 over 6 squared minus x minus 12 divided by x minus 1 over 2x minus 3. This division sign means there is an equation here, there is a fraction here, which you are dividing by this other fraction. But the way the division sign has been put here, it is not very clear whether you are just dividing this numerator by this numerator and then this by that. It's not very clear. So this is likely to confuse somebody. It's likely to confuse students. So we are going to learn how to write these expressions correctly so that they don't cause any kind of confusion to the student. So let me create a space here where I can write down this expression and then we can compare with the one that is already there. So let me put my cursor there, create some space here, and I want my equation to come right at the center here. So I'll go to home and then center align that expression. So my expression will come here. And this one is also important to realize that expressions are usually centered. They usually come at the center of the page unless you are told otherwise. So let's proceed. How do I start writing down this expression? So I will go to the ribbon and on the tab named Insert, I will click and there will be so many commands that open up here. The command that I'm interested in is the one where there is equation or equations. So just click on equations or this other symbol here. Once you click that, there will be this instruction here, type equation here. So if it is a simple equation, you can go ahead and start typing. But when I look at this equation, first of all, there is a square root sign, and then inside that square root sign, there is a fraction. So where do I start? Do I start by putting the fraction and then the square root sign, or the square root sign and then the fraction? So in my own opinion, I'll want to put the square root sign and then put the fraction inside. So I'll come over here and look for how can I be able to insert the square root sign, and it appears as if it's somewhere around here. So I'll click this small arrow to reveal all these options, and the best one would be this one. The moment I click it, it appears here. Now I've got my square root sign, and inside here I can write this fraction. I'll need a way that I can be able to write that fraction here. So I'll click on the inside, come to the same command, and there is this command written fraction. Again, click that small arrow and you can see the kind of fraction I want to write is this one. So I click it and it appears here. And you can see how everything is falling into space. Now, the numerator is a number, 384.16, 384.16. That one is multiplied. So I'll come here and look for that operator, and the multiplication sign is here, times 0.0625, 0.0625, and you can see that everything is falling in place. What is my denominator? My denominator is 96.04. Click 96.04. And when I click away, I have a neat equation written correctly There is no unnecessary improvisation, because this is unnecessary improvisation. If you improvise too much with some of these softwares, then you find that they give you ridiculous expressions. Like, for example, this one is simply a ridiculous expression. Somebody tried to draw a slant line here on the inside, combine it with another line and another straight line. And if I were to start removing these lines by, for example, pressing delete, you find that that square root sign disappears altogether. I don't want to do that. In my case here, you can see the square root sign. It's a neat square root sign that comes in there. And then I have the option of typing as many numbers as possible. And the more I do that, the more it continues to expand. And it just stops where I stop writing. Notice that this is not the case. With this one, it stopped somewhere ahead here because somebody wanted to create a large space. If I continue typing these numbers, for example, I continue putting more numbers, you can see the square root sign does not expand together with the numbers as I type them. It means that it was not done the right way. So that is how you would deal with the square root sign and fractions which are inside the square root sign. Let's go to this other expression. Of course, after writing it down the correct way, you can go ahead now and just remove this other expression because you actually don't need it. You've now written the correct one. So you select that. You can see even the way it was written, somebody just wrote these numbers and decided to underline. You can see underlining is highlighted there. This kind of underlining usually is not meant to be used with numbers. It is meant to be used with sentences. For example, I want to underline this. It's alright if I come there and underline. That is when the underlining is meant to be used. It is not meant to write fractions, because even here, I know this particular person using the underlining to underline this expression, 2x minus 2, and then press the underlining so that you can have the underlining sign there. But then there was some difficulty in how now to extend this underlining from all the way from that point to this point, because that is how the expression is supposed to be. It's supposed to be 2x minus 2, everything over the whole of that. So you see there is a limitation to too much improvisation. So let's learn how the software is supposed to be used. So I have my expression there. And one other thing, if I find that if the font becomes too small, all I need to do is just click there or even click outside here so that I can select the whole of that. And then when I go to home, I have the option of increasing, either increasing the font or decreasing the font to the size that I want. And everything decreases proportionately. So a font of 12 is perfectly okay. Now let's go to this expression. What can we do in order to write it down the right way? I can see this one has moved from being center aligned. So let me center align it. And there it is. And the font is 12. Right. So let's create some more space here. I put it on the last line here, press enter, and a space will be created. Notice that if I put my cursor there, press enter, it spoils the equation completely. It means that this equation was not written the correct way. So be careful about that. So let's undo those changes. I had already created a space here. I want to put my expression right at the center. So I click center aligning. And now this is where we have the fun. There is this fraction, divide by this fraction. So let's proceed to the tabs on the ribbon named Insert, Commands, command for the equation. I click it, type equation here, and I know it is a fraction divided by another fraction. So I simply come here and enter my fraction, and then I look for the operator division, divide by another fraction. And you can see how everything falls into place. And here it will be 2x minus 2. So 2x, minus sign is somewhere around here. So minus 2, and it's done. At the bottom here, the denominator is 6x squared minus x minus 12. The moment I see an x squared here, I've got to think of this command here, the script. Click the arrow, it reveals this, and this one shows that I can put my x here and then a squared there. So I click it and it enters here. The other number is 6. I can as well as type it outside that box. It does not really matter, or even inside. There will be no problem. So long as I do 6, then I have my x. In the next space there, I have squared. Now notice here, if I continue typing, for example, if I now press the minus sign, here, the minus sign, it goes in the wrong position because the minus sign is not a power of x. It is 6x squared as one unit, then minus x. So the minus is supposed to be lower here. So this minus has not been entered in the right position. So I undo that, and then this is what I will do. I can click slightly ahead. Just click slightly ahead. Let me go back and you will see the difference. This one was x squared, and then you see where the cursor is blinking? Look at its height and where it is. Now when I click ahead, it will come lower. There. And you can see now it fills the whole space from that point to that point, meaning that now it is in the right position. So I can go ahead and click the minus sign. So that is 6x squared minus x minus 12. A neat expression. And you can see the line that is meant to start from here to this point just expands naturally. And there is no problem. And it's a very neat expression. This one is very important because if you do not make your work to be attractive to the students will not be attracted to the subject. And it starts with the kind of scripts that we present to the students during an examination or during any class activity. Always make sure that whatever you give to your students appears neat. Now, how do you do that? If you're having difficulties in writing mathematical expressions, this video is going to be of much help to you. Now we can go right ahead and write down the other one. It is x minus 1, of course, over 2x minus 3. 2x minus 3. And what a beautiful expression. Let me create space there so that you can be able to see what we are talking about. Compare this expression with what you have here. There is a lot of confusion here, while this one is very neat. And this is how expressions are supposed to be written using Microsoft Word. Now let's look at one further challenge, and this is when you are writing down matrices. So of course you can go right ahead and now erase this one because we do not need it. And there it's done. Let's look for one where we have matrices, and here we are. Again, a lot of mistakes here. A lot of mistakes. So let's see how it should be written down. Again, create space, center align, whatever I want to write here. Let me create more space so that whatever I'll be writing is clearly at the center there. So this way I want to write down this expression. So I go right ahead on the ribbon, insert, equation, type equation here, and I can see I start with capital V. So capital V. And then it is followed by the equal sign. You can use the equal sign which is on the keyboard, or you can choose the equal sign which appears among the symbols here. Now there is 2/3 pi r cubed. This pi r cubed, first of all, you see this line that is meant to be used when you are writing fractions. It is not, I've already explained, it is not underlining. If I go back here, you'll find that if I click here, that person must have used underlining in order to write down this fraction. By the way, this process, this one takes a very long time, and you can mess up with the whole process. This line here is meant to be in the same line with the equal sign, and then the equal sign is supposed to be in the middle of this expression. So let's see how we solve some of those problems. So I can see this is, first of all, there is a fraction 2/3. So I insert this script here. I have already inserted the equal sign, so I can simply go to design. Now that one is something else. Sometimes the moment you have inserted the equation, if you go back to insert, it does not give you that option. You simply go to the design, and you can be able to see whatever commands that you are looking for. For example, I want the command for the fraction. So I click there, and my fraction enters here. Of course, there was an equal sign, don't forget that. So I can simply come back and put my equal sign. There's no problem. So this is 2/3. And now I click slightly ahead, and this way now I want to put my pi r cubed. So I can go right ahead and look for that symbol. That symbol is somewhere around here. There is my pi there, and you can see now it has entered in the right position. Look at the line that is meant to be used when you're writing this number here. It is right in the same position. It is right at the center with the equal sign. The equal sign is at the center. This line is at the center. Pi is at the center. It does not appear to be like, because over here it just appears to be like a numerator, and that is not how we write expressions. And then now I've got to enter r cubed. Now how do I do that? I think now you're getting it. I come to this script here, and I have my r cubed. So I put that expression there, and I have r, put my cursor there, cubed. And my equation now is taking shape. Now, remember, if I continue typing here, it will be a numerator. I don't want to do that. So I click slightly ahead here in this position there. And then I need those brackets, large brackets, like that. So I go to the command for the brackets. Click there, and I can see the kind of brackets that I want to use are not these ones, about, let me see, over here it appears as if I have the kind of bracket that I'd like to use. Let me go slightly down. These brackets here, these ones appear to be fine with me. Let me see whether there is anything else there. No, but these ones appear to be fine. So I'll click on that, and I have neat brackets. And then this, I believe this one ought to have been L minus 2, because when you have 1 minus 2, this is supposed to then to give you minus 1. So I guess this one's supposed to be L minus 2. So that's exactly what I'm going to write. But there is a problem here. This one is a fraction, while this kind of option here that I put here is not a fraction. So let me undo that. I go back looking for the brackets, and go back and look for the fraction. Or is it possible for me to have that, and then when I come inside here, I remove this by deleting, and then I put a fraction there, and you can see it works now. So you can do a lot with improvisation at this particular point, but do not improvise too much, because if you do that, then you start writing things which are not supposed to be written in the first place. So over here we have said, let's write L minus 2 divided by SC squared. So I have my S, but the C squared is, I've got to put this script there, and then I have my C there, and I've got my square there. And when I click away, look at what a neat expression I have. Looks so beautiful, as opposed to something like this. So really you can be able to do a lot with this kind of work. This one looks like a matrix, but it's not a matrix. Actually, these were just brackets for that fraction. Let's search for a matrix. But before we do that, notice how this expression appears quite different from this one. And there is no confusion here. You will not be confusing your students. Another expression that you can edit very well with this knowledge is something like this. By the way, you do not have to put these brackets here. You just need to write the number and then raised to power 2. That's all that you need to do. So in this one, you start by inserting a fraction, and then over here you will insert x raised to power 2, only that in the place of x you will write this number, and then on the denominator you will insert the cube root sign. You'll insert the cube root sign, which can be inserted the same way we did with the first question. We have seen how we correct this kind of equation, so you can use these ones for practice. Yes, over here I've got this matrix, so we are going to see how we write it correctly. So let me create space, and here we are. I need more space so that it stands out, so that you can actually be able to see what we are doing. So let me center align that. So I want to write down this matrix. The moment I have it in that position, I'll go to insert equation. The moment the equation comes there, there will be this command here, matrix. Click the arrow and I search for the type of matrix that I want. Let's scroll down. And you can see the kind of matrix that you want appears to be like this one. So it is a matrix with brackets. So I can click that, and you can see very fast I can be able to start writing what I want. So before the first bracket, I will call my matrix A, and then put the equal sign, and then I click on the inside. I have 1, I have 2, I have 4, and I have 3. And you can see something like that. It comes in quite neatly. You can see that. Unlike this one. If I want to change this number, I just need to come here. It is selected. I can erase just that number without affecting the other one. Notice what happens here if, for example, I press the backspace. Start approaching that. And then the matrix starts losing shape. See that? If I press on to this one, starts pushing everything to the right. With the time, it just disappears. If I click on this, press backspace, and you really don't know what is happening. These are some of the mistakes teachers make when they are preparing tests and exams, and you find that maybe a mathematics paper like this one will have so many corrections that teachers will keep on writing on the board. So the solution to this is to learn how to use Microsoft Word to either edit mathematical expressions or write fresh expressions exactly the way they appear in the textbooks. And it is really very, very easy. You just need to practice in a few minutes. Once you've gotten the skill, then you're on way to writing better and better expressions. Look at this expression here. Again, you agree with me, it doesn't look okay. It looks so disorganized. Just see, when I press the tab, keeps on moving ahead. Even here, moves out, and really the expressions become so disorganized. So this is what you will do. You can take a paper like this one, look for any expression, edit them, and then save. Each and every paper you get, try to check on the mistakes which are in that paper. If they are mathematical in nature, then correct those expressions. And I wish you all the best as you continue to produce quality documents.